big buddy, ain't you gonna stand by me? Big buddy, ain't you gonna stand by me? If I got to fight, I'll fight like a man, but say, big buddy, won't you lend a hand? Ain't you gonna stand by me? Big buddy, don't you hear this hammer ring? Hey, big buddy, don't you hear this hammer ring? I'm gonna split this rock and split it wide. When I split this rock, stand by my side. Say, big buddy, don't you hear this hammer ring? Celebration. My name is Richard Blanco. I am a founding board member of Split This Rock. It's delightful that you are all here. I will say, I want you to hear the hammer ring, but I don't want to hear your cell phone, so please put that on vibrate. And when Sarah Browning had this vision to do Split This Rock, I was like, this is so exciting because DC needs to be a capital for poetry, and over the last 5 years, we've had an amazing 3 festivals, another coming up. It's been an incredible and inspiring journey. Thank you. At this point, I hope that you all have a mimosa or an orange juice, because at this point, I would like to propose a toast for all of you who have come, for all of you who have supported Split This Rock. You all raise a glass, and I will say cheers. At this point, I would like to remind you also that we have a fabulous silent auction, and so do check that out, keep that in mind. And at this point, it is a great pleasure to introduce an incredible poet, an incredible activist, and someone that I am honored to call as friend, the executive director of Split This Rock. Let's give you a big warm round of applause for Sarah.
Celebration last night. You are such a beautiful sight. I remember at the very first Split This Rock Poetry Festival, we had no idea what we were doing, or if anyone would come. And 400 people were there at that very first night in an auditorium, and I said, look to your left and look to your right at all these beautiful poets and activists and supporters and lovers of poetry and dreamers for a better world. Look at yourselves and say, wow, we're here and we're celebrating 5 gorgeous years. So it's incredible to say that again, to say, what a beautiful sight you are today. So thank you all so much for coming. It's just an extraordinary milestone that we're celebrating today, and I'm so thrilled to be celebrating it with Richard Blanco and Grace Cavalieri and the brilliant young poets of the DC Youth Slam team. Yeah. You know, Richard's poem, The Beautiful One Today, which is for sale here at the table, along with Richard's most recent book, Looking for the Gulf Motel. And they're being sold by Teaching for Change, the bookstore at Busboys and Poets. Let's give a big thank you to Teaching for Change for the incredible work that they do. Richard's poem, it ends so beautifully. Hope, a new constellation waiting for us to map it, waiting for us to name it together. Ever since the attacks of September 11th, on the other hand, our so-called leaders have governed through fear, really the opposite of hope. And when we're afraid, of course, we're easily manipulated. We close down, We shut others out. We're made to believe that the world is a dangerous place and that we have to organize our entire society to protect ourselves. And so the culture of fear has lulled us into, really it has bullied us into accepting a vast, secret security state, mass deportations of our undocumented neighbors, erosion of our rights and liberties, and perpetual war throughout the world. But poetry tells a different tale. Poetry tells us we need not be afraid. The brilliant poet and activist and essayist Adrienne Rich, who died just a few days after the last Split This Rock Festival, she wrote, "When poetry lays its hand on our shoulder, we are, to an almost physical degree, touched and moved. The imagination's roads open before us, giving the lie to that slammed and bolted door, that razor-wired fence, that Greek dictum, there is no alternative." Split This Rock was founded on this principle. Everything we do is designed to support those building imagination's roads, and to bring others to walk along those roads with us. Poetry of provocation and witness, we call it, bearing witness to injustice, provoking change. Split This Rock's programs, our festivals, youth programs, readings, e-publishing initiatives, and poetry campaigns for social justice place this poetry of possibility, of resistance, in the hands of those who need it most. That is, everyone. And we nurture and support the poets writing and performing this vital work, those poets of all ages who Adrienne Rich called the sane mad and the bravest monsters. It's only with our courage and our imaginations that all of us monsters can build this other world. So we are grateful beyond measure to the poets, to the sane mad, to all of you who support them, to all of us. Believe it or not, it's sometimes a challenge to raise money for this transformative work. Believe it or not. For the artsy foundations, we're too political. For the social justice foundations, art? They don't get it. And so we need your support, all of you, and your monstrous courage to build this organization, to build this work, to bring poetry right to the center of public life where it belongs. We have another extraordinary year of programming ahead of us. Next month, some of the young people from the DC Youth Slam team are going to South Africa on an art and social justice tour. In September, we'll be doing a project for immigration justice with the poet Eduardo Corral, who will be leading us all in writing letters to dreamers. So we invite you all to participate in that. You'll be hearing more about it. We're also very excited to announce that in the coming year, we'll be awarding the very first Freedom's Plow Award for Poetry and activism funded by the Cross Currents Foundation. So that's an exciting new program. And last but not least, March 27th to the 30th, 2014, the 4th biennial National Split This Rock Poetry Festival. Some of the poets who will be featured: Yusuf Kominyaка, Claudia Rankin, Joy Harjo, Ann Waldman, Denise Smith, Tim Siegels, Natalie Diaz, many more. It's going to be an incredible 4 days. I hope you'll save the date. Join us for this incredible event. Those who've been before. Who's been to a Split This Rock Poetry Festival? So give a shout out at what a transformative 4 days it is. 5 more years to begin, and many more after that. But thank you again for helping us celebrate the first 5 years, for helping us launch the next 5 years. And now I have the great pleasure of doing what This Rock does best, which is to introduce some kick-ass poetry into your lives. 2 years ago, I believe it was only 2 years ago, Reggie Cavico and Jonathan Tucker and a couple of other poets who've been working with young people in Washington, D.C. approached Split This Rock and asked us if we would take on the DC Youth Slam team as a project. And we said, y'all. I think so. And in those 2 years, Jonathan and Pages and an incredible team of teaching artists have built Split This Rock's youth program into the most dynamic, exciting poetry youth program in the city of Washington, D.C. It's a model for youth programming all over the country. Let's give it up for the youth team. And my honor to bring up 2 members of this DC Youth Slam team. They are both first-time members of the team, which means they just qualified in March, and they are both extraordinary artists. I give you Thomas Hill, aka Vocab, and Amina Iro.
Hello, everybody. My name is Amina.
And I'm Thomas.
And we are 2 members of the DC Youth Slam team, as Sarah Bryan said.
And I'm going to go first in the speaking of poems. There's a war going on in my city. And I'm not too sure if anyone else is noticing there are people being drafted not knowing that they are fighting front line. There's a fine line between a battle and a massacre. The masses concur that everything is okay. See, the mass conquered the opinion of who's winning and who's losing. There's a war going on in my city. Battles on every block. Bullets for every baby that'll grow up too black, too gay, too Muslim, too minority that fits in with the majority. With minorities no longer settling for being called mindless. So you better mind your manners when you walk out your door, because there's a war going on. And the politicians will tell us that we've got it all backwards. Well, war turned around spells raw. We've been stripped raw about humanity. Fighting like barbaric goons as if prison is something primal. We're too raw to sit and watch our own bodies drop. The television be a mirror. News showing a black boy killed with the same slang, same nose, same lips, same smart chip in his pocket that I have in mind. There's a war going on, unspoken battles, Muslim women with their backs against the walls, trying to fight attacks of curiosity and accusations from those who don't understand these women have nothing to hide, but rather cloak themselves in dignity to conform to this sexualized society nobody ever thinks. Maybe 9/11 was an emergency phone call to the nation begging for us to wake up and learn how to stand together before we fall any trick of the trade, train and learning how to hate one another before recognizing each other as one unit willing to kill and fight for land that none of us have claim to in the first place. Truth is, I've never seen a more disposable human being than a black boy. If one dies, another will be back on that same street the next day to die, just to be granted the title of a soldier. Soldier self outright plain concrete as if these corners are equivalent to your 40 acres in a mule. There's a war going on. We even changed the beat of our own music so we couldn't hear the gunshots in our go-go. We chop with choppers in our waist and fuses in our feet. We make revolution and war interchangeable, grant welfare and affirmative action as cheap compensation, and claim that such programs are enforcing reverse discrimination. Well, there'd be no such thing as reverse discrimination if we weren't discriminated on in the first place. There'd be no such thing as war if we weren't born on a country built off of each other's blood. There's a war going on, and by the time a DC child turns 10, they'll already be a veteran. We like to fight, then forget, as if we can't remember that the blacks, the gays, the Muslims, and the Jews were all put inside of the same incinerators during the Holocaust. See, the cost to call ourselves victors is all too high, for we've been stacking bodies and bigotry trying to reach the impossible. There's a war going on in the capital of the United States. And that's probably a clear representation of what type of country we are creating. Nobody ever thinks about those who died in the line of fire that they were born into, to the Muslim woman at the airport. We gay boy with the busted lip, afraid to go to another go-go. The white boy being told he is no claim to poverty. The black boy trying so hard to not be like his father. The Spanish girl that's tired of trying to wrap her tongue around our English. I'm sorry, there's a war going on. You are a soldier and you're fighting. Every day you decide to live rather than die. Thank you. I'm going to talk about Philadelphia Amina to spit a poem.
So this poem is called 26. For every letter of the alphabet, there was a dream, there was a future. For every letter of the alphabet, there is value, and for every letter of the alphabet, there is a name. Children. A, Charlotte, B, Daniel, C, Olivia, D, Josephine, E, Dylan, F, Madeline, G, Catherine, H, Chase, I, Jesse, J, Anna, K, James, L, Grace, M, Emily, N, Jack, O, Noah, P, Caroline, Q, Jessica, R, A, B, L, S, Benjamin, T, Allison. They're educators. Q, Rachel, V, and Marie, W, Lauren, X, Mary, Y, Victoria, Z, Dawn. What was once read as a class roster now reads as an obituary. With every name, our hearts gain the weight of hearts no longer beating. We carry them with the care of a mother cradling her child and inject a breath of life into them like the sight of love injects butterflies into our stomachs. 26 lives. 26 lives that went by too quickly because they were passengers on a bullet train that was never meant for them. 26 lives stolen, most at an age too young to understand the letters by which they are listed in age when L, M, N, O, P was still understood as element of P, too young to formulate words like weapon, massacre, malice, and heartlessness. 26 souls. Pried away from the bodies that held them, whose hands had no other job than to ensure that the seeds of knowledge made their way into the earth. An abused right to bear arms, bloodied, bear arms. If we do not learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. Fighting firearms with firearms is not the answer. How dare we still debate on this matter, risk ourselves and our children for the right to carry a gun that does nothing but embody death in a capsule smaller than the finger used to pull the trigger. Never again. Never again after people were told to close their eyes as they exited the building to avoid being scarred by a sight that should have never come into existence. Never again after enough tears were shed to end the drought of peace and prosperity in this world. Never again after the strongest of hearts were tossed, tumbled, broken, shattered, pieces scattered and lost all in less than 24 hours. And never again I told my little brother that he would be safe going to school on Monday morning, unsure of whether or not I had lied to him. Newtown, Connecticut. We do not weep for you. We weep with you, and as a nation we stand with you. And on the hardest of days, when the sun's shining just isn't enough, we lend ourselves to you. We give you our hearts, but when yours are weak, we give you our shoulders to cry onto, take a rest on. We give you our feet, but when yours do not have the strength to carry you through the day, and we give you our hands. Never to replace the hands that you lost, but rather because you need all the warmth you can get in this cold world, and we need it too. Our attention is moving, our headlines are changing, the earth is still spinning, but as the pages of the book of life continue turning, as we write, speak, type, compose, as we breathe, we must never forget the names that make up the letters of the alphabet. Thank you.
My name is Dean Avetta, and I'm here at the board of Split This Rock. First, a quick announcement. The conversation that we're all about to be part of, to witness, is being recorded. It's going to be broadcast on the Poet and the Poem, and so we request that you not clap after poems, but please just withhold your applause to the very end. They're recording it all, so that's with that out of the way. The gift outright on the pulse of morning, of history and hope, praise song for the day. These are the titles of inaugural poems by Robert Frost, Maya Angelou, Miller Williams, and Elizabeth Alexander. Richard Blanco this year gave us one today as a meditation for America. Richard likes to say that he was made in Cuba, assembled in Spain, and imported to the United States. Meaning his mother, 7 months pregnant, and the rest of the family arrived as exiles from Cuba to Madrid, where he was born. Only 45 days later, the family immigrated once more and settled in New York City, then eventually in Miami, where he was raised and educated. He's the author of 3 fantastic books of poetry: City of 100 Fires, winner of the Agnes Sierra First Book Award, Directions to the Beach of the Dead, winner of the Beyond Margins Award. His new book, Looking for the Gulf Motel, examines the blurred lines of gender, the frailty of his father-son relationship, and the intersection of his cultural and sexual identities as a Cuban-American gay man living in rural Maine. Jim Elledge writes that every poem packs an emotional wall and an intellectual caress. In January 2013, we all know that Blanco was selected by President Obama to be the inaugural poet, joining the ranks of Frost, Angelou, Williams, and Alexander, and now Blanco. He became the first immigrant, the first Latino, and the first gay person to be the inaugural poet. He was also the youngest. The author of 16 published books and chapbooks of poems, 26 produced plays, and 2 operas. Grace Cavalieri founded 2 produced operas. Grace Cavalieri founded 2 publishing houses. As a publisher of small presses, I want to recite their names: Bunny and Crocodile Press and Forest Woods Media. And she hosted, well, for years, her acclaimed radio series, The Poet and the Poem, has allowed us to join her in these elucidating conversations about poetry and the creative process, first at WPFW and now at the Library of Congress, giving us, her listeners, treasured insight into how a poet works. She's spoken with, I believe, almost every poet laureate and important poet in the last 3 decades. Lastly, I have to add, earlier this year, unanimous waves of exultation broke across Washington and throughout the cybersphere at the word that she'd been chosen as a recipient of the George Garrett Award for Outstanding Community Service in Literature.
President 2013 for President Obama, and here he is with an opening poem.
Thanks, Grace. Just a little background of this poem, which is a humorous poem. My name is not Richard, and this will reveal some of that background. But it deals with my sort of having been negotiated between these 2 identities that I grew up with in Miami, and that yearning for the ideal America that I believed in grade school books, and also my very Cuban background and family. It's called The Name I Want. Not Ricardo, but Richard, because I felt like Richard Burton, a true Anglo-Saxon in tights, reciting lines from Othello, because I wanted to be as handsome as Richard Gere in a white tuxedo, because I had a pinky ring just like Richard Dawson on Family Feud, because I knew I could be just as wholesome as Richie Cunningham, just as American as my father's favorite president, Nixon. Richard, not Ricardo, not my nicknames either. Negrito, the little black boy with my skin the color of dried tobacco when I was born. El Galleguito, the little Galician, because that's what Tía Noelia called anyone like me, born in Spain, not really 100% Cuban. Not Rico, the name Lupe wrote on my desk, branding me as Barry Manilow's black lover in ruffled sleeves, dancing conga at the Copacabana, all of 8th grade. And definitely not Ricardito, Little Ricky, worse than Dick. Richard, descendant of British royals, not the shepherds of my mother's family, not the plantain farmers on my father's side. Richard, name of German composers, not the swish of machetes, rapping with bongos. Richard, more elegant than my grandfather in his polyester suit, chiclets jingling in his pocket. More refined than my grandmother gnawing mangoes and passing gas at the kitchen sink. Ricardo de Jesus Blanco. I dub thee myself, Sir Richard Jesus White. Defender of my own country, protector of my wishes, conqueror of mirrors, sovereign of my imagination. Name for my name.
And the name is Richard Blanco, and the date he is ours. Everyone here wants to know exactly what happened when you got the call from the White House, when they asked you to be the inaugural poet. Where were you? What time was it? What were you wearing? Everyone.
Well, actually, I got a text message from my representative, from my agent at the time. He was a very calm fellow, and so I was driving. I just actually visited middle school class in Wilton, Connecticut, and I was driving back to my home in Maine, and this guy is usually a very calm fellow, with all caps, called me immediately. So I thought, being my Cuban neurotic mom, who died, you know, that was my first thing. And then after that, then it was, is this a gag? Is this a friend? Just playing a joke on us. And then, in fact, we researched the name of the person that called, and it was Presidential Inaugural Committee, which was the website. And after it sunk in for a while, it was really the most emotional experience was I pulled off over the side of the road, and I was overcome with this incredible sense of gratitude. This sense of really thinking about my parents and my grandparents and all the sacrifices they had made. Everything in their support of education and all the love and all this, et cetera, et cetera. And that was really the most surprising thing that I wasn't expecting. It was just like almost like this was the chapter of a story that they had started. It was sort of at the end of the chapter, and it just comes to life.
Was President Obama nice?
He was very nice, and I didn't get to meet him other than the handshake. But, I believe we'll be meeting soon.
He'll be okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to hear another poem. Richard Blanco, this is the poet and the poem, and we're broadcasting from Split Rock, the organization who is changing the nation.
This is the title poem from the latest book called Looking for the Gulf Motel, and it started I went to visit Marco Island in Florida, which is a place where we used to vacation as kids, poor man's vacation. Back in, we rent a place in July for like $25 for the week, and it's swelter all July. And I wanted to take my partner Mark to sort of take a trip down memory lane and kind of show them where things can stand, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, the place had changed and had been erased from the landscape. And I found myself in the same predicament sort of with my parents, with the sense of nostalgia and yearning for those things in life that we just don't want anyone to mess with. And that was, for me, was the Golf Motel. Looking for the Golf Motel, Marco Island, Florida. There should be nothing here I don't remember. The Golf Motel with wearing lampposts and ships wheel over the body should still be rising out of the sand from the Cape decoration. My brother and I should still be pretending we don't know our parents, embarrassing us as they roll the luggage cart past the front desk, loaded with our scruffy suitcases, 2 dozen loaves of Cuban bread, brown bags bulging with enough mangoes to last the entire week, our espresso pot, the pressure cooker, and a pork roast reeking garlic through the marble lobby. All because we can't afford to eat out anymore. Not even on vacation. Only 2 hours from our home in Miami, but far enough away to be thrilled by the wider scene on the west coast of Florida, where I should still be for the first time watching the sun set instead of rise over the ocean. There should be nothing here I don't remember. My mother should still be in the kitchenette of the Gulf Hotel, her daisy sandals from Kmart squeaking across the linoleum, still gorgeous in the teal swimsuit and her earrings, stirring a pot of arroz con pollo, adding sprinkles of onion powder, dollars, tomato sauce. My father should still be in a terry cloth jacket, smoking, clinking a glass of amber whiskey in the sunset at the Gulf Hotel, watching us dive into the pool, 2 boys who'll never see grow men who will be proud. There should be nothing here we don't remember. My brother and I should still be playing Parcheesi. My father should still be alive, slow dancing with my mother in the sliding glass balcony of the Gulf Hotel. No music, only the waves keeping time. A song only their minds hear 10,000 nights back to their life in Cuba. My mother's face should still be resting against his bare chest like the moon resting on the sea. The stars should still be turning around. There should be nothing here I don't remember. My brother should still be 13, sneaking rum in the bathroom, sculpting naked women from sand. And I should still be 8 years old, dazzled by seashells and how many seconds I can hold my breath in the water. But I'm not. I'm 38, driving up Collier Boulevard, looking for the Gulf Hotel, for everything that should still be, but isn't. I want to blame the condos, their shadows for ruining the beach in my past. I want to chase the snowbirds away with their tacky mansions and yachts. I want to turn the golf courses back into mangroves. I want to find the Gulf Motel, exactly as it was, and pretend for just a moment that nothing I've lost is lost.
That's the voice of Richard Blanco. We are a split from Associate Organization that is changing poetry and changing the world. Thank you, Richard. I want to tell you who he is. He is the author of 2 previous books, and they are The Beach of the Dead and The City of 100 Fires. This is Looking for the Gulf Motel. Tell me what the title of your book is.
This is a...
But you were writing a manuscript and I called you.
Oh yes, I'm writing a memoir of the whole Inaugural experience.
Are you going to put us in it? I think that half of it, you can divide the book into 2 halves. Half of us knew you before you became the inaugural couple, and the other half, a bigger afternoon in discovering Richard Blanco. Now, what do you think, how are you using your reputation to further the idea that you think are significant? How are you using that?
Well, it's developing slowly as I get used to all this sort of new platform and all this new attention. But one thing I've always believed in, one thing why I've always, which is part of what I believe is with this rock itself, and Sarah was one of my students, well not a student really, but was in one of my classes way back when she had this incredible brain.
What year was that?
This was, I don't forget the exact year, but she had signed up for a course that
where are you teaching this?
As a writer center.
Okay.
But one of the things that I always call in my heart is, and which I think is part of the great mission of this rock, is this idea of bringing poetry to people, not sort of closing it and putting it behind doors, although that's where we do our private work, but to bring it out and connect with people. And this position as inaugural poet, I mean, it's the one place where this American poetry connects most. It's so beautiful. This is a piece that one of the things that has been happening later, obviously, this sort of more development in my life, is that I've had a lot of immigrant cousins come from Cuba, and so I live vicariously through their life I see them negotiating their whole world as I did as a child, but they also have a completely different perspective because they grew up in Cuba. I grew up in post-revolutionary Cuba. And so on a trip to New York City, my partner, I took my cousin Roxana, who is who's just a real pistol. I love her. And I was with my partner Mark, and my mom Mark suggested that we go to the Statue of Liberty. And being a poet, I'm like, that is so cliche, I'm not doing that. But he insisted, and okay, most of my poems come around because Mark wants me to do something. But we went around, and I'm sitting here, and I'm suddenly grasping that moment. I'm like, holy moly, like this is it. This is our story. So this is taking my cousin's photo at the Statue of Liberty for her son. May she never miss the sun, or the rain, the valley trickling from royal palms, or the plush red earth, or the flutter of sugarcane fields and poincianas, or the endless hem of turquoise sea around the island. May she never remember the sea or her life again in Cuba, selling glossy postcards of the revolution and of Che to sweaty Germans. May she never forget the broken toilet and peeling stucco of her room in the government partitioned mansion, dissolving like a sandcastle back to the babes in Fuego. May she never have to count the dollars we sent for her wedding dress or save egg rations for a cake. May she be as American as I wanted to be once, in love with its rosy-cheeked men in breeches and white wigs, with the calligraphy of our liberty and justice for all, are we the people. May she memorize all 50 states, our rivers and mountains, sing God Bless America like she means it, like she's never lived anywhere else but here. May she admire our wars and our men on the moon. May she believe our infomercials, buy designer perfumes and underwear, drink Starbucks, drive a Humvee, have a dream. May she never doubt America. May this be her country more than it is mine. When she lifts her diet coat like a torch into the June sky and clutches her faux Chanel purse to her chest, may she look into New York Harbor for the rest of her life and hold still when I say, smile.
The voice of Richard Blanco. This is the poem on location in concert with the Library of Congress. I'm Grace Cavalieri. You are an engineer by trade. You're a civil engineer. How does that training inform your scheme on the page and your thinking when you're writing a poem? How does being an engineer help your aesthetic?
I should say that I came to engineering, to poetry actually through engineering in a strange way. When I started working professionally as an engineer, there was a lot of writing involved. Instrument reports, letters, proposals, and I really started paying attention to language, which was my job, and realizing short of it is that language was engineered in a way. Language is a crafted people. And so that got me thinking about poetry and started, as I said, sort of filling around in poetry. And the rest is sort of history. But how I've seen it is also we all know that poetry has a lot of structure, rhythm, much like music that's very mathematical. And so in terms of the aesthetics of how my pages look, if I write 10-line stanza, the other one's going to be 10 lines, or there's got to be some kind of mathematical proportions and things like that. My line lengths tend to be about the same. I admire those poets that have these long lines and these short lines, and the engineer in me just can't do that. this was a piece that came about in all the searching about some of the mentality of sort of growing up as a child of immigrants. I'm an immigrant myself by 45 days. That's at the age I arrived in the United States. And sort of one of those things that always sort of is in my psyche is this idea, well, you're American, but not really. There's always a little part of you that says, well, America's someone else or someplace else. And the inaugural process really was amazing to sort of think of finally became an American. But in the ways that immigrants, and I think that's what the poem of my cousin was about, is the way that the immigrant experience are also sort of, immigrants are the most patriotic and the most heartfelt people in our country and hold America to those ideals of going through grade school. And so I always feel like sort of in some ways I'm on vacation and waiting for somebody to tap me on my shoulders and say, we found where you belong and the flight is waiting for you to take you back home or whatever. And I think your long story longer. There are some constants in my life which have to do a lot with nature. And that for me was the beach, growing up in Miami Beach since I was a toddler. And so this poem is more about that paying tribute to that landscape. But it's also sort of a metaphor in the ways that we want to be different every day. We want something exciting and new to be birthed in us every day. But yet we want to be the same at the same time. We want a certain constant. We want to have a certain constant in our lives of who we are. And nature is a great metaphor for that, because so many times I've been to the beach, and every single time the beach is different, and yet it's still a beach. And so this is, some days it's the sea. The sea is never the same twice. Today the waves open their lions' mouths, hungry for the shore, and I feel the earth helpless. Some days their foamy edges are laced at my feet. The sea sheep green silk. Sometimes the shore brings souvenirs from a storm. I sift spoils of seagrass, find a broken finger of coral or a torn fan. Examine a sponge's hollow throat. Watch a man-of-war die a sapphire in the sand. Some days there's nothing but sand, quiet as snow. I walk, eyes on the wind, sometimes laden with silver-tasting salt, sometimes as still as the sun. Some days the sun is a dollop of honey, and raining light on the sea glinting diamond dust. Sometimes there are only clouds. 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 Sometimes solid as continents drifting across the sky, other times wispy white roses that swirl into tigers, swirl into cathedrals, swirl into hands, and I remember some days, I'm still a boy at the beach, wanting to catch a seagull, pick up a tiny silver fish, or build a perfect sandcastle. Some days I'm a teenager blind to death, even as I watch waves seep into nothingness. Most days, I'm a man, tired of being a man, sleeping in the care of dust's slanted light, or a man afraid of being a man, singing some God, and moonlight streaming over the sea. Some days I imagine myself walking the shore with feet as worn as driftwood, old and afraid of my body. Someday, I suppose I'll return someplace, like waves trickling through the sand, back to the sea, without any memory of being. But, if I could choose my eternity, it would be here, aging with the moon, enduring the space between every grain of sand, The cusp of every wave, every seashell is hollow.
This is the poet and poem with Richard Blanco and Grace Cavalieri. Muses come in all shapes and sizes, and some are walls we have to get over. Your grandmother was a kind of a muse, wasn't she?
Oh, she was a muse, all right.
Let's have that poem.
That's in that poem. My grandmother, in the end, I tribute her in some ways for I won't say making me a writer, but sort of in a roundabout way, influencing my psyche as a writer. She was an incredibly homophobic person, but also an incredibly xenophobic person. It's a reverse xenophobia, I guess. So that anything that was weird to her culturally was also gay. Never drink soda with a straw. Men don't use straws. Milkshakes, maybe. Stop buying your mother's Avon catalog and the men's underwear in those Sears flyers. I've seen you. Stay out of her Tupperware parties or perfume bottles. Don't let her kiss you. She kisses you much too much. Avoid hugging men, but if you must, pat them real hard on the back, even if it's your father. Must you keep that cat? Don't pet him so much. Hey, Mabel, why don't you like dogs? Never play house, even if you're the husband. And quit hanging out with that Henry kid. He's too pale, and I don't care what you call them, those G.I. Joes of his are dolls. Don't draw rainbows or flowers or sunsets. I've seen it. Don't draw at all, no coloring books either. Put away your crayons, your Play-Doh, your Legos. Where are your Hot Wheels, your laser gun and handcuffs? Those knives I gave you. Never fly a kite below the skate, but light all the firecrackers you want. Kill all the lizards you can. Cut up worms, feed them to that cat of yours. Don't sit Indian style with your legs crossed. You're no Indio. Stop click-clacking your sandals. You're no Tropicana chorus girl. And for God's sake, never, never pee sitting down. I've seen you. Never take a bubble bath or wash your hair with shampoo. Shampoo is for women. So is conditioner, so is mousse, so is hand lotion. Never file your nails or blow dry your hair. Go to the barber shop with your grandfather. You're not unisex, are you? Stay out of the kitchen. Those hombres don't cook, they eat. Eat anything you want, except deviled eggs, blow pops, croissants, bagels, maybe, cucumber sandwiches, and no boutique floors. Don't watch Bewitched or I Dream of Jeannie. Don't stare at the $6 million man. I've seen you. Never dance alone in your room. Donna Summer, Barry Manilow, the Captain, Antonio, Bette Midler, and all musicals forbidden. Posters of kittens, Star Wars, or the Eiffel Tower forbidden. Those fancy books on architecture and art, I threw them in the trash. You can't wear cologne or puka shells, and I better not catch you in clogs. If I see you in a ponytail, I'm cutting it off. Gay? What? No, you can't pierce your ear, left or right side. I don't care. You will not look like a goddamn queer. I've seen you, even though you are one.
In closing, I hope that you will read a little fragment of Life's Abused, which personifies the title of Split This Rock.
Don't you hear his hammer ring? I'm gonna split this rock, split it wide. When I split this rock, stand by my side.
Richard Blanco, who is breaking walls and giving language a new name. This is the poet of the poem. I'm Grace Cavalieri. Our engineer is Michael Turpin.
And also, we have a fabulous cake that is courtesy of our fabulous board member, Sushai's husband, Chris, made a fabulous cake. There will be cake right now, and there's also a book signing. The signing is over to my left. You can buy the books, you can keep the change over to my right. Derek West Brown is there. A big shout out to Ellie from Split This Rock, who's our managing director. We love you. Working around the clock to make this happen, and also, please buy a book, hug a poet. There is Sunday Kind of Love later today, so check that out. And just hug a poet and love. Thank you.